Welcome to Basic Chord Construction. We're just going to talk today a little bit about what kinds of things are created chords. So, first off, a chord is a collection of two or more notes that are played at the same time. Anytime you have two or more, you'll have two different sounds, you will have a chord, unless they are the same note. That is the only time you will not have that, okay? Two different notes or more. The basic structure is done by stacking the notes above the root note, usually in intervals of a third. What I mean by that is that, let's say we're starting with an F. Okay, I'm going to stack on top, there's a second, there's a third, and then I'm going to stack one more to make a chord. Now again, this can be done as many times as we want, and it all becomes a chord. But the big ones that we need to be able to use are at least the first three. Now, if we started the last one on a line, so this time we're going to start on we started on a space last time. This time we're going to start on a line, and notice how it just stacks line, 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 and so on. So that is the basic structure of creating a chord. It's just very simple. Stack it like a snowman on top of each other. Three balls on top of each other. So let's talk about the first idea of a chord, which is a triad, okay? A major triad. First off, a major triad is made up of three notes, three stacked notes. They consist of a root, a third, and a fifth. So I'll give an example, back to our F, A, and C. And what we have is we have F is the root, A is the third, C is the fifth. It's whatever the interval is above the bottom note. There's the third, there's the fifth. Okay, and that is a basic triad. Now, one of the things that you can have problems with major triads is the idea that sharps and flats are determined by the root note. The root note sets up the key signature. Now, if you already know your intervals, you know the difference between a major third and a minor third. If you don't, let me show you how to use a key signature to help you. So let's build something starting on E. And move it over here. Okay, the key signature of E is four sharps. So we'll put our four sharps, F, C, G, and D. Now, I'm going to stack our triad without thinking about it. So there is an E triad. But to make it an E major chord, we have to realize that, oh look, this G is matched up with this sharp. So we end up with the center note being G sharp. So we have E, G sharp, and B. That is our major triad. Let's try one with some flats. So I'm going to pick this one, which is an A, but we're going to change it to A flat. I'm going to take this, move it over here. The key of A flat has four flats. B flat, E flat, A flat, and D flat. So now when we look across, we notice that there's an A flat that needs to come over, and there's an E flat that needs to come over. So we have A flat on the bottom and E flat on the top. And there is our major chord. So whatever your bottom note is, that will determine your key signature, and then you just take the flats or sharps over to the note to make it a major triad. Let's try a couple more just to kind of get the idea in your head again. Okay? So this time I'm going to pick key of A. Last time it was A flat. This time I'm going to go with A. So I build my triad like so. Now the key of A is going to have three sharps. 1, 2, 3. And this should be F. There we go. F, C, and G. Notice that there is a C sharp that needs to come over. So that's going to give us our chord A, C sharp, and E. Now let's pick one with a bunch of flats. I'm going to do, let's do this one. Let's do D flat major. Now here's our chord. Move this over a little bit. Now this can either be down here or it can be up higher. It doesn't really matter. But D flat, you're going to have 5 flats. B flat, E flat, A flat, D flat, and G flat. So we look at this, and now I picked this one specifically because you have to connect the upper flats, the flats that are up here on this staff, still are applied down here. So the E flat here and the D flat down here. We noticed that at that point, we then can bring this D flat over, since that was our initial note that we wanted to build this off of. D flat, and then we see up here, there's an A flat right here that can be brought over this way to there. So there's how we build major triads. The last part of major triads is the concept that you don't always have them stacked like a snowman, one on top of the other. These are called inversions. Okay, now inversion is where the notes stay the same, but they change position. They consist still of a root, a third, and a fifth, but they also have 3 different ways you can do that. So let's demonstrate this using our last chord. Let's just use a simple F chord, since I don't have to change any notes. F, A, and C. Now, because the only thing in F is a B flat, it's not going to affect us at all. We can get rid of that. So we have F, A, and C. So that's our first chord. That is what is called root position. Spin it. That is called root position. Not letting me move it. There we go, I got it moved. Okay, so root position, F, A, and C. Now, let's say we wanted to change the bottom note to the high F. Okay, so here's F, but we can keep the other 2 notes the same. Now we still have the same chord because it's still the same notes, but this is what is called first inversion. Okay? So where we take the first note of the chord and take it and move it to the top. Now, there's a whole bunch of confusion about how this may change the notes because now A is on the bottom, things like that. We're not going to worry about that for now. That's for the advanced version of chords. For right now, we're just talking about the placement of the notes. Okay, so we have A, C, and F. So let's move the bottom one again up to the top. Okay, so we're going to have C is now going to be our lowest note. Then F stays up here. And then A is actually going to go up here with one of the ledger lines, like so. So now what we have is what's called second inversion. Second inversion. That means that the fifth of the chord, or the top of the snowman, is now on the bottom. So we're just flipping notes around in order to get different positions. Let's try one of these. Now we've done this with F, which has no changes in notes or flats or sharps or anything. So let's try one with some sharps. We're going to go with, just one step down, we're going to go with E, G sharp, because this will be G sharp in the key of E, and B. Okay, that is our chord. In order to change it, we move the E up, but we keep the other 2 exactly where they are. Now, sharp on, and this is first inversion. I just moved the bottom note to the top. And for second inversion, we have this. The G moves up, the B stays down on the bottom, and the sharp moves up with the G. So this here is second inversion. So that's how it looks with first root position. And remember, the first one is called root. It's where it looks like a snowman. Root, first, and second position. Do one more with a flat, just to see how it is. Okay, let's pick E flat, just because we have a good amount of room. I want to make sure we have enough room to be able to see. So we're going to pick E flat, which means G and B flat, because the key of E flat has those two flats plus A flat. So here's our chord. So now what we do, we move the E flat up to the top, make sure it's flatted. Okay, but we keep the G and the B flat the same. So there's our first inversion. Okay, first inversion, and remember this other one is called root position. And let's go for second inversion. Okay, we keep our E flat, we're going to move the G up, flat in there. So a little bit, E flat G, and the B flat stays exactly where it is. And there's our second inversion. And all we're doing, again, flipping them around to a different structure, different position, same notes. So that is the basics of chord production. We went through the idea of just basic chord construction, creating the snowman either on lines or on spaces. Then talking about major triads, that you have to match up the root note or the bottom of the snowman, this one here, with the key signature to help make a major triad. And then we